Welcome to Living Full, my gutless journey. This video will be about my hematoma experience in my pelvis and how I had to call the ambulance. So if you haven't watched my previous videos, on February 6, 2025, I had a proctocolectomy and with the ileostomy creation. So right now I have a stoma and I'm going to have it for the rest of my life. I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis way back in high school when I was like 15 or 16, so like over 20 years ago. And my symptoms were not really responding to medicine. In my most recent colonoscopy, they found that a tumor was right in my anus. It was like connected to a hemorrhoid. So it was really low in my anus, and that tumor was cancerous. So that's why I had my proctocolectomy. I have been through radiation, chemotherapy, and surgery. And then the unexpected happened. This hematoma came out of nowhere. So let's get to the story. So February 18th, I think it was February 18th, I was getting into bed. It was 11 p.m. and I was kicking my feet up. And then all of a sudden, I felt this like spasm down in my, like lady parts area, like down on my pelvis. And it really hurt. It lasted for about like 10 seconds maybe. And my fiance was next to me. My daughter was next to me. And my sister was downstairs. And I was like, oh. Then I started to cry like immediately. And my fiance was like, what is happening? And then I was like, I can't move. It hurts. No, I don't know what I was saying actually. I think I was saying something like that. And then maybe 30 seconds later, another like spasm down in my pelvis area happened for another 10 seconds. And I did the same thing, like, oh, and I was crying at this point. And I told my daughter, she's 7, I told her to go get my sister. And my sister has been having my back throughout this whole journey. Like she's been there like to almost every medical appointment. So she ran down and got my sister. And my sister was like, what's going on? I was like, call the ambulance. I knew at that point, like I really could not move. I was holding on to this back of the headboard. It happened right here actually on this bed. And I was holding the back of the headboard. I was facing the wall. And I was just like crying. I was like, I can't move. I can't move. And the pain was just getting worse and worse. So we did end up calling the ambulance. And it felt like forever for them to come. And when they did come, they're asking me like, I thought it was silly questions, like asking if I had diabetes and blah, 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 blah. And my fiance and my sister were answering questions because I was, in pain. My daughter was trying to calm me down. By giving me this like little, it's like a lava lamp that you like turn upside down, and their colors looks like gel coming down in water. It's really peaceful and beautiful. She was like doing that in my face. I was like, oh, she's so cute. And it did help. It made me like not focus on the pain for a little bit. But I hate for her to see me crying and in pain. But she took it very well. She was so helpful. And so the first responders like did a finger stick to test. I don't know what they were doing, but I was like, hurry up. Do you have any pain medicine? They're like, no, we don't. I was like, then why are you even here? Let me stop. But I had oxycodone next to me because I had that surgery. So I popped 2 of those suckers. And we were here for a while. So about like 20 minutes later, it did go down. The pain did go down just a little bit. And then I wanted more. I was telling my sister, give me some more oxy. My sister was like, I don't think you should be taking that much. The first responders were saying the same thing too, like, let's wait until you get to the hospital. And so I told the first responders that I couldn't walk. So they got a seat thing, gurney type thing that they can carry me, but I'd be sitting down on it. So they lifted me up on that, and I immediately felt lightheaded. And the first responder was like, "Are you feeling lightheaded?" And I was like, "Yes." And he like hit my cheek, and that like just woke me up. It was like a burst of it. It was like a burst of adrenaline that ran through my body and just like snapped me out of it. Um, and I live on the 4th floor, and my bedroom, once you get into my condo, it's another flight of steps. So they had to go down many steps, carry me down many steps. And once we got into the ambulance truck, I asked I asked the first responders if they had pain medicine in the truck. I was in so much pain. It was like stratosphere pain, and it was constant at a level 10, more than 10, for the entire time until I got pain medicine at the hospital. I'm not even joking. It was the most pain I've ever felt in my life. And it was constant. Yeah. And it was all in my pelvis area. Like, I didn't know exactly where it was coming from. I was like, how could pain be like this? And I was trying to like switch positions and nothing was working. And I was anyway, so we were in the truck for like another 10 minutes. They had to, I don't know what they were doing, but I was like, hurry on up, let's go. So eventually we started to drive, and they said it was going to be like a 20-minute drive. And I was so out of it, really. I was just so focused on the pain that I didn't really realize how long the ride was, which was a good thing. And the bumps weren't doing anything. They didn't make the pain worse because the pain was already high, so it didn't really make a difference. But when we got to the hospital, I was sitting on one of the gurneys for about, I would say, less than 10 minutes. And I was like asking pretty much anyone that came in contact with me, I was like, when will I get pain medicine? So eventually, after like 10 minutes or so, I was able to see the doctor. He was asking me questions. And at a certain point, I was like, I'm not going to answer any more questions until I get pain medicine. He was like, okay. And so he left, and nurses came in, set up an IV, and asking me again my pain level. And I don't really remember all the questions. But I do remember one point when the nurse popped his head in. He was like, someone right next to you is having a heart attack, so we have to go do that first before we come and take care of you, pretty much. And I was like, of course, go take care of that person who's having a heart attack and save their life. I'm okay. I mean, I wasn't okay, but I'm like, I'm less, you can put me down on the totem pole at this point. But that was frustrating. But anyway, so about like 15 minutes later, I finally did get pain medicine. What was it? Dilaudid through the vein. I think it was like 5 or 10 milligrams. And so I immediately felt my pain go down. But about like 10 minutes it went by, and I was like, this is still not enough pain meds. So they did give me another dose of Dilaudid through the vein. Then after that, I don't really remember what happened. I think I slept. I did fall asleep, but I don't know for how long. But I know they did come in and ask me to give them a urine sample. And I went to the bathroom, and nothing came out. Nothing. Usually when I give a urine sample, like I can give them a little bit, but it was nothing came out. 0, no drops. And so I told them that, and the doctor that was with me at that point, she was like, go get a scan of her bladder. So that happened, man. So again, I'm a little foggy on the details right now because I was drugged up. yeah, I don't really know. So at a certain point, they did take me to do a procedure to scan what was happening, why I couldn't pee, why I was in so much pain. They did like a pelvic exam. And they put like contrast through my veins to see what was going on. And they did find that one of my vessels in my pelvic area was bleeding, and it was creating a hematoma. So it's like this big blood clot. It's just bleeding, and the blood is just like making like a pretty much a pocket in my pelvic area, and it was pushing my bladder over, so I couldn't release my urine. So, if you watch my previous video about my proctocolectomy, you would see that my surgery did not run smoothly, and I had a bleeding issue during my surgery. So, and this hematoma was my second bleeding issue. So, even though they said my first bleeding experience, it wasn't in the same part of my pelvic area. It was like on the other side. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. And they were like, this is very rare that this happened, especially twice. And my surgeon he's the chief of surgery, of colorectal surgery. And he said, this is rare. Like he really hasn't seen this type of bleed since he's been working. And it happened twice to me. So I was like, what the? So I was glad that I found out why I was in so much pain. So the hematoma did stop. The bleeding did stop on its own after a while. And the pain did subside because I don't know. But I did have to stay in the hospital for like 4 to 5 days again. That was my second hospital stay that month. But when I was in the hospital, like I wasn't in too much pain, but I was still recovering from my first surgery and then this hematoma. So, and I had a catheter, a Foley bag on my leg, and I had to go home with my Foley bag for about like 2.5 weeks or even 3 weeks. I don't know. But my bladder just wasn't working. I couldn't empty it. And the hematoma, they said it was going to take maybe several weeks to months to heal. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I had to have that Foley bag for a while. But anyway, so after that, I can't really tell you after that. I need you to watch the upcoming videos on what happened. So I'm not going to give it away. I feel like I'm like a TV series or something. But I did end up getting another surgery and having to stay in the hospital for, what it was, like a week, 6 days. But you'll find out in the next video what happened. So, but my next surgery was not an emergency, but still, it's a lot of surgeries, right? So currently, I don't have anything attached to me. My hematoma is pretty much gone. I'm able to urinate the regular way. And now I'm just healing like the normal healing process. So, thanks for watching this video. I hope you liked it. And if you have a similar experience or know someone who has had a similar experience, I would love to hear about it in the comments below. You can say what's up in the comments below. Or, yeah, like, subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next video. Take care, guys.